Hey guys, I just want to say that if you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'm a small content creator and could really use your support. I live stream 100% of the gameplay for games that I review, and I'm also always trying to keep up with the big named movies that are being released. If you would like to support the channel monetarily, you can do so through PayPal, or even better yet, you can get yourself some merch from my Teespring store. If you want to get better connected, you can do so through the social links in the description below, and please do consider joining the Discord. If you do, you can voice chat with me through my headphones while I live stream, and you won't be recorded on YouTube or Twitch. That's all I've got, guys. I hope that you really enjoy the video. Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm Mike, and this is Mike's After Action Reviews. And Marvel has recently released a new anthology series on Disney+. And today, I will be your guide through these new realities. Follow me and dare to face the unknown and ponder the question, was Marvel's What If any good? Okay guys, so we have a lot to get through, and I'm actually going to be skipping through some things, mainly the characters and acting. There's a lot of characters and actors, so I'm not going to take up all your time going through all of them. I am going to mention some things though. But as always, we're going to start with the production of the series. Marvel's What If was released on Disney+. It has 9 episodes, each ranging from 30 to 37 minutes. It was produced by Marvel Studios. It was written by it had lead writer A.C. Bradley, who wrote 6 of the episodes, and he is known for the Arrow series. And then you had another writer and also the editor, Matthew Chauncey, who is actually kind of very new, really, to the whole movies and series scene at all. He is known for Three Below, Tales of Arcadia, which is a series as well. You have the director was Brian Andrews, who is the director of Avengers Endgame in 2019 and Doctor Strange in 2016. So you have one new guy and then kind of veteran talent here. So that is all pretty good. Moving on to the plot. So from IMDb, spoiler-free kind of plot summary here of what the whole series is. This is an anthology series, and I'll explain that in a minute, but it says, plot, exploring pivotal moments from the Marvel Cinematic Universe and turning them on their head, leading the audience into uncharted territory. So this is actually something that they've done in the comic books. Basically, in the comic books, they had a what-if series of comic books where they would just write a random strange thing, biggest one being zombies, or at least most well-known one being zombies, where, what if everybody was just zombies, okay? So basically this is an anthology series, which means that it's separate stories, kind of all spanning different genres, and they're all completely self-contained stories, which actually fits really well into the idea of the multiverse, because it's told from the story's perspective of the Watcher, and he just looks at different universes and different points in time in each of the universes. So it actually works really well with the lore of how the Marvel Universe kind of works out. I think that this was a really good idea that they did here, and so let's take a look at how how it was executed. So we have characters and acting. So I'm not going to go over all the characters and acting. Most of the actors play their role, reprise their roles that they've played in the movies. Big ones not here are Iron Man is not here, Captain America, and Black Widow, and you can kind of see why she wouldn't be here because of her legal issues with Marvel and Disney right now. But basically, Black Widow, Iron Man, and Captain America are voiced by different people, but actually they do so good. Really, they do. They do really good. It's not a bother. The acting quality is very well. They have some good actors. I'm not going to go over all the actors or anything other than just saying that. Okay, but I will say Jeffrey Wright is here, and he's known from the Hunger Games movie series. He plays the Watcher, and he does a really good job, and I actually really like... I can see him in the way that I've seen him play different roles and stuff. I could see him actually being the Watcher. Like, I would not be surprised if there was a, galactic level power alien on Earth right now, just here to observe some things. I could imagine it being that guy, just because of his temperament and the way he acts. So I was really happy with his voice acting here, and just now that so I didn't know it watching the series, because I never pay attention to any of the hype or media or anything before watching these things. But after putting a face to the voice after seeing the series, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So I was actually really happy with that, so that was all right. But basically what we're going to do here to kind of do this review, I'm going to go through all 9 episodes. I'm going to give a real quick synopsis, and then kind of like my fine, really, boiled down points of what I think of each of the episodes. So we have episode 1. This is what if Captain Carter were the first Avenger? Basically, and this is, none of anything that I say is going to be spoilers here, okay? It's all put out in the media and the advertising for the show. But what if Captain Carter were the first Avenger? So basically, Peggy Carter gets the serum instead of Steve Rogers. No spoilers, but they do. They do some interesting stuff with what happens with Steve, because he does not become Captain America. But my biggest... And then it basically plays out like the first... like Marvel's The First Avenger, Captain America, The First Avenger movie, except it's Captain Carter. Now, the big thing that I did not like about this, I highlighted this as a red episode, meaning I was disappointed. And then the green episodes are good to go. The big thing that I didn't like about this was just that they have Peggy Carter come in, and she's a different person, and could be a different character, but instead of really being a different character, they basically just have her be female Captain America. They change her suit, so now it has the Union Jack from Britain on it, and then on the shield it has the Union Jack as well. And I just thought, basically all that they do here, it's not a big change. They literally just change the person in the costume. The most interesting part about it is what they do with Steve. I was more happy. So this is kind of advertised as a Captain Carter episode, and they do throw in some of that social commentary, feminism crap in there. I really hate that. Captain Carter, without being a super soldier, was already kind of a feminist figure anyway. She rose to the highest rank in the British intelligence she wasn't the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., but one of the big honchos in S.H.I.E.L.D. She does it. It's literally, like, you literally see some people interacting with her, and I'm thinking, that doesn't make any sense. She's literally your boss. That is actually your boss. You would not be able to talk to her that way in this episode. They diminish her role in this episode to make her so that way they can play up the social commentary stuff, and I hated that. And then when they, like, before her becoming Captain Carter, by the way, they diminish her role. And then when they make her Captain Carter, they make it out like, oh, it's this big deal thing, it's a woman. But all that she does is the same thing Steve Rogers did, but now she's a woman doing it. There's nothing changed or interesting about her character as far as her specifically being not Captain America, but being a super soldier rather than Steve Rogers. That was kind of a longer explanation for the episode. So I would say that this episode is between a below average and average. Nothing super special here. I would say that, like I said, the best parts of this were actually what they did with Steve Rogers instead of Peggy Carter, which is interesting because of the way it was advertised. The social commentary stuff really wasn't necessarily needed. And I think so anyway. You can believe what you want. And some people aren't going to like that. Some people aren't going to like how it's kind of the whole force down your throat thing. But anyway, so I'm going to rate episode 1 below average to average. Average at best for me, just because, like I said, the writing and there was no big difference between Peggy Carter being a super soldier and Steve Rogers being a super soldier. Okay, that was a long one. Episode 2. What if T'Challa became a Star-Lord? I was disappointed in this episode. I would say that the biggest problem with this episode is just that all that it really does, like literally, it literally has nothing to do with what actually happens in the movies of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, it's not T'Challa really interacting in such a way with the same characters in the way that he does in like the movies and the things we've seen. So you're not going to be familiar with a lot of the stuff here. Like, you're going to be familiar with it, but not as in the context of what you see in the movies and things like that. Which is actually, it's okay, but it's just if you're looking for familiarity in this episode, you're not going to be seeing T'Challa do a different thing. I will say that his character is completely different. He actually is T'Challa. Different things do happen, so that aspect of it was okay. My biggest problem was that this is basically just an episode to show you how much better T'Challa would be than Peter Quill at being Star-Lord. It gets to the point where even Thanos becomes a good guy. Okay, again, I'm trying to be spoiler-free here, but it really is that ridiculous. I thought it was so stupid. You see Thanos being a good guy all of a sudden. The adventure that he goes on is completely different than Peter Quill would have gone on, and you basically just see instead of when Peter Quill was Star-Lord, he was this loser nobody that nobody's ever heard of, and when T'Challa's Star-Lord, he's the greatest thing that ever happened to the universe since sliced bread, and even turns the Mad Titan into a good guy. It literally was just irritating and kind of insulting to the original character, in my opinion. But these are characters that I do care about, so I can see where, you know, I might be a little bit biased, but honestly, if you really liked Peter Quill as Star-Lord, and you think that, you know, if you actually just liked him, you're really not going to necessarily like hearing about how much better another character could come in and be him. That's really my biggest criticism of it. Otherwise, I would say that it's basically average. I wouldn't say below average, but just average. I think that they could have done a little bit, I don't know. They could have made it a little bit more realistic. I don't think it's realistic that just because it's T'Challa, he literally can convince Thanos to be a good guy by talking to him. That's literally what they say. They say that T'Challa met Thanos as Star-Lord, and because T'Challa's just such a great guy, Thanos becomes a good guy. I thought that was dumb, so I would say average. Episode 3, I actually liked this one. It was What If the World Lost Its Mightiest Heroes? This is a murder mystery. So the first 2 episodes are basically just adventures. Basically just like adventure action episodes. This is kind of a murder mystery. It involves... It basically is happening around the time of all of the Avengers being discovered. So like Iron Man, it's in the time of Iron Man 3, which at the exact same time is when Thor is coming to Earth, and at the exact same time that the Hulk, the old Hulk movie is happening. So you see this kind of mysterious thing kind of happening where some of the Avengers start dying off, and how S.H.I.E.L.D. has to kind of deal with that, and then another character comes in and helps them that wasn't there in the original stories. It's actually really interesting. I thought it was pretty good. So that's two disappointed, one good to go so far. The next one is episode 4 with What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart Instead of His Hands. Basically, they explain how in the car accident that happens with Doctor Strange, his girlfriend, played by Rachel McAdams, who I forget, in the movie she played by Rachel McAdams, I forget her name, but she, I think it was Kate, it doesn't matter. She dies instead of Doctor Strange having the injuries to his hands that stop him from being a doctor. So I liked this one, but the criticism that I have is, and I was seeing this in the beginning, kind of, it's a slow starter, and they only have like 35 minutes to do the whole episode, but it was a slow starter. Starting up, I was like, man, this kind of puts a plot hole, because what was his motivation to go to, like, whatever the name of that city was, Kalmataj or Taj Mahal or whatever, Raj Mahal, whatever, Krav Maga, to learn magic. Like why would he immediately jump to, I'm going to learn magic? Or not immediately, but why would he even... It just didn't make the most sense to me as far as him becoming a sorcerer in any way. But once it gets going, once you kind of accept that and put it past you, I would say that it's kind of like a movieism. Once you put that past you, he starts to do some things as far as trying to change what happened with his girlfriend dying, and trying to, change, like I said, change that happened, maybe to bring her back to life or something. And... or to stop her from dying, or to bring her back to life, whatever you'll see in the episode. But actually, this one was pretty good, and it does have a good ending. The ending was done well, I'll say that. It does not have, quote unquote, a good ending, but the ending was done well, so I did like that. So that one I would say above average. Also, the episode 3, The World's Lost Its Mightiest Heroes, I would say that one was above average as well. like I would say average to above average. That's the thing. Even the good ones are like average to above average. So average to above average for those two. Episode 4 was kind of a drama, like a romantic drama. So that was an interesting change in pace there. Episode 5. What if zombies? So this genre here is zombies. Basically, you have zombie survival with some kind of intergalactic virus making people zombies, and basically that's like the whole thing. They're just trying to there's a group of the Avengers that are trying to survive. Not necessarily the Avengers either, just a group of heroes trying to survive. If they get bitten, they get turned into zombies. They have to fight their friends who are zombies, who retain their superpowers too, so that's interesting. And I would say, yeah, this one was above average. I would say that episode 4 was above average. Episode 3 was maybe average to above average, so we're doing well so far. So that's 2 disappointing, 3 good so far. Episode 6... Gotta turn over my notes here. Episode 6 is What If Killmonger Rescued Tony Stark? Now, this is a disappointing one. Anything with Killmonger, I do like how they show that Killmonger is actually a bad guy. In the movie, they try to play it off like Killmonger, even though he wanted to either enslave or kill all white people on the planet. They didn't really address the fact that he's a basically Nazi. And they kind of play it off like he's almost like a sympathetic good guy who did bad things, but really he's just a racist Nazi who wants to take over the world and either, like I said, enslave or kill all white people. But here they really show that he is evil. Basically what happens is when Tony Stark in the first Iron Man movie gets hit with the bomb, Killmonger is actually there to rescue him, and he kind of earns favor with Tony Stark, and you kind of see how it all turns out. Like, is Killmonger a good guy? Is, in this universe, are his motivations different? What are his motivations if they are different? If he is a good guy, is he a bad guy maybe? What is he really trying to get at here then with the whole Tony Stark thing? There was a little bit of mystery here, but I have a hard time with him because it really basically makes Tony Stark out to be an idiot, kind of, and it makes other people out to kind of be an idiot as well, as far as reaching all the way back into like Wakanda, people being dumb. You have an altercation between T'Challa and Killmonger in this episode as well, and I don't like how, again, they just kind of dumbed down T'Challa to make it so that way Killmonger could do what he needed to do for this episode. So that is 1, 2, 3 disappointing and 3 good so far. Then we have, 3 disappointing and 4 good so far. Then you have, so I would say that this one was average to even maybe below average to average episode. Then you have episode 7, which is this is an interesting one, another kind of drama. But what if Thor were an only child? I think that is the wrong name for this episode. It shouldn't be What If Thor Were an Only Child, because if you are framing it as Thor being an only child, there would be different. I think that there would definitely be different things that would happen rather than what does happen. Basically, I think that this one should be called What If Thor Were a Big Dumb Idiot? I did not like this one. I think that it's probably a below average. Honestly, I think it's even below average to maybe even bad. But then again, for the the production and the characters that are pretty cool and all that stuff, I would say it's probably not bad, but definitely below mid tier to below average. Because basically what happens is Odin goes into Odin sleep. The conflict between the ice giants never happens like it does in the first Thor movie. Odin goes into Odin sleep. Freya decides, I'm going to go visit my sisters or something, and so Thor, he's supposed to be a good boy and study or do some, even though he's a full-grown adult man, probably 10,000 years old, and instead of doing any of the stuff that he's supposed to do, he just basically decides to throw a big party. It is really dumb. It really shows him to be a stupid idiot. And then they have this conflict with Captain Marvel, because they have to call him in, because for some reason the party that he's having might destroy Earth. It doesn't really ever explain why, so the motivations are dumb. There's no reason for Thor to be that way. There's no reason for him being an only child to make him an idiot rather than being the character that you see him as in the movies. Even in the movies he might be kind of arrogant and stuff, but he's not a complete fool. they bring in Captain Marvel. I totally hate this thing. This is another social commentary, girl power thing, and that is a good message. That is a good message. Girl power, as far as like women being confident and being able to, it's the same for boys. Like, just people confidence type of thing. When you be a strong man, be a strong woman. Good. Those are good messages, right? But the problem is that you have a good character, a good guy, and you put him in conflict. Like, you create conflict between him and another good character to show, and they're trying to basically do this thing where they're always trying to make Thor look dumb to make Captain Marvel look better. And I don't like that because I like Thor. And honestly, even in the comic books, Thor is a much more popular character. So even from a comic books and the movies, he's a much more popular character. So even from a business perspective, Disney, Marvel, what are you doing? Why are you trying to make one of your characters who's pretty popular look stupid so that way another one of your characters who also could have her own popularity look better? Why not just have them both be cool? You know what I'm saying? I didn't like that. I thought that was a dumb business move, and I thought that it just really diminished Thor's character. I do want to note, by the way, that the little conflict that they have, Captain Marvel doesn't hurt Thor. He even is talking like, oh, wow, I actually even felt that a little bit. Yeah, she does nothing to him. So if you think... And Marvel, if you go to Marvel's website, you can see it says that Thor is just as good at producing energy. Well, he's max tier energy production as Captain Marvel is, but he's physically stronger and faster than her. So if you want to talk about who's stronger, just look at the numbers from Marvel yourself. But anyway, so I would say that this one, like I said, is either a mid-tier to low, below average, almost bad. But okay, so then we go on to episode 8, What If Ultron Won? Basically, what if Ultron won? And you kind of get that Age of Ultron more from the comic books than from the movies. I really don't want to spoil it or anything, but I will say that, I mean, this one was really good. And then episode 9 is What If the Watcher Broke His Oath? Some stuff happens from so episode 9 is a continuation of episode 8. Some things happen, and then basically the Watcher brings all of the characters from the previous episodes 1 through 8. He brings them together. Well, 1 through 7. He brings them together to face Ultron, face this big problem that Ultron has created. Because of Ultron, what happens with Ultron, he becomes powerful enough, and so the Watcher, it's powerful enough that the Watcher sees him as a big enough threat that he intervenes. I would say that probably what happened, so moving into my final statement, and I would say the last 2 episodes are definitely high above average. The last 2 episodes could be excellent. I would say that the last episode is excellent. Episode 8, though, is probably above average to excellent, so I'll give it an above average. Moving on to my final statement and review score, I would say that this show, probably they had the idea for the last 2 episodes and making that work, where they basically take and do what they should have done in Endgame, where defeating Thanos, instead of it being like a trick, they actually like fight the big threat at the end of episode 9. They fight Ultron. They fight Ultron like toe to toe, and you really don't see them do that in Endgame with the. I'm talking about with the Infinity Gauntlets. You never see them fight Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet toe to toe and actually kind of win. He never gets dominated. Even in Endgame, he doesn't get dominated without the Infinity Gauntlet. So. They do that here with the big bad in the end of episode 9 with Ultron, and it really looks really cool. It's really fun, and it's what we really did actually want in Endgame but didn't get. One of these days I'll do like a retro action review of Endgame, and I'll kind of talk about my problems with the way that they handled defeating Thanos. But anyway, so I would say that they probably thought of those 2 episodes first, like the writer's room. They all came together and they said, look, this is what we want. How are we going to get there? And then they did the other first 7 episodes separately. So because of that, I'm actually going to give this episode this series 2 different review scores. So episodes 1 through 7, I would say were basically, they had some good ones, they had some bad ones. I would say average, but leaning towards the lower end of average. So this is like a low average series as far as episodes 1 through 7, and then an excellent as far as the last 2. Those last 2 episodes, they literally could have just released those last 2 episodes as a movie, and this would have been better. Which is interesting because I'm always saying that instead of doing all these series, they should just release movies. Smaller budget movies on these. Like, they could have done a smaller budget animated movie of the last 2 episodes of the series, and it would have been great. The only problem is they would have had to do a little bit of an introduction to the characters. That's the big thing. That's why this was a series. So I get why they maybe could have done a movie. I get why they did the series, so that way they could introduce each of the characters. That's really the only reason for episodes 1 through 7, is to introduce each of the characters, and then the last 2 episodes they bring them together to fight Ultron, the big threat. So, as I said, episodes 1 through 7, low average. Episodes 8 and 9, excellent. So, anyway, guys, I hope that you really enjoyed this review. Thank you for watching. I just want to say, God bless you all, and have a good day.